What is up, everyone? I'm Jeff London. This is the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast, and I am not sure if I want to have any more introduction than that. I did the first introduction for the first 80 some episodes, I think, and then I switched up a little bit. The first introduction was about being intolerant of weak-minded attitudes and kind of embracing you're new at a whole bunch of different things at some point in your life and battling through that newness in order to get to that level of enjoyment, because things are frustrating at first, but if you don't suffer through that frustration, then you don't grow. You don't find out that you really love to do certain things, and you limit yourself. So that was kind of the inspiration there. But the more you say a quote or regurgitate the same thing over and over again, it starts to lose its meaning, and it just becomes a routine, and you can say it while you're doing anything else. It's kind of like when seniors pick their senior quote for the yearbook. It's due that day, and the kids are looking up quotes online, which is fine. They can do whatever they want. But it's kind of funny because if it's your senior quote or it's something that you kind of live by, shouldn't it be on your mind or at the tip of your tongue or accessible? So I'm not judging teenagers, but it is an interesting thing, and I think it works for adults just as much. Adults, we have quotes that we like and we share and that we say, but is that really the inspiration for what we do? Does that really impact our life on a daily level, or at a daily pace? And if it doesn't, then maybe we got to switch it up a little bit, and it can totally change. You can have this great life quote in the things that you do daily impacts you, and that's the way you want to live, and that's good. But I felt like it was just kind of a routine, and I don't know. Then the second one was kind of embracing the opposite end of the spectrum, the novice, the outdoor, the new outdoorsman, or not really new, but the novice outdoorsman for sure, someone who's just trying to figure stuff out. And so I'm just trying on no introduction, but that ends up being really long as I'm explaining about the introduction. So I don't know. It's a work in progress. It's my podcast. I can do what I want. So we'll see next week if I have an introduction. Who knows? Just got back from Colorado and Wyoming last night. I think back from both states, but the trip was to Wyoming and then spent some time in Colorado, and then flew out of Denver yesterday. I was talking with my girlfriend. We stayed at some yurts in the Never Summer Nordic region, or the Never Summer mountain range, and there's some yurts that are there that we cross-country skied into, and then we found a couple slopes that were pretty close to the yurt, and it was awesome to go up these chutes that had totally untouched snow. So it was that fresh, well, it wasn't fresh, but it had that look of that fresh powder that everybody talks about. And so you tour straight up it. So it's a crazy workout. Your calves and your legs just get roasted on the way up to the spot. You take a little break there, and take the skins off, and then lock in your heel. And then you go down, and it's fun. It's exhilarating, but it's compared to the amount of work you have to do, it's just such a small portion of the time. I think it might be more worth it, because at a ski resort, you just take the lift and it does all the work. So when you go up to the top, you really want to have a good run because you hiked up there. You skied up that entire run and then went down. So got some runs in, was awesome. And so we talked about what we want to do going forward, and we like that area, but do you do the same thing? Now that you've been there and you kind of have experience, you want to go to the same spot and figure it out even more and have a better idea of it, and go there during the summer so you get a whole different feel of the same area? Or you want to go somewhere else because there's no shortage of opportunities, and it doesn't matter if you're in Wyoming, Colorado, wherever. There's so many opportunities to go anywhere. Once we get to a spot, sometimes we keep going to that same spot because we're more familiar with it each time, and then it does pay off. There's some spots you got to find it. With fishing, it totally makes sense because you go to this river and you look for the most effective spots. You keep going to those spots because it's successful. But as far as having experiences, sometimes that works, sometimes it's not. So we're thinking about that, thinking about where we want it to go. And then you look around, there's so many other spots. You're like, man, I want to have an experience there. And that's kind of when it comes to fishing and hunting, I've caught brown trout in California, but I haven't caught a brown trout in Colorado. And it's not that I want to catch, 16 different states worth of brown trout. It's more that you pick that area and you look at that area and you think, man, I want to have an experience there. And they have one of my favorite fish there, and I would love to have a fish in that environment. So I use the hypothetical that I totally wouldn't know the difference. If I was like sedated for 24 hours and I woke up and I somehow was on a river and I was catching a brown trout, I don't know if I would be happier if once I landed it, I knew that I was in New Zealand or Patagonia, or if I was just, I'd probably know the difference. If I was on the White River in Arkansas, I'd probably know that this wasn't Patagonia or this wasn't New Zealand. But I wonder what that would do to my happiness if I knew that I was catching a brown trout in New Zealand, that I'd made it work, and I would have I had an experience here. I wonder how that works. It's just a brown trout. It looks, the New Zealand ones, they look a little bit different. But if it was just your run-of-the-mill, ordinary-looking 12, 14-inch brown trout, does it matter where you're at? Yeah, I think it does. Because you're going somewhere new, you're having a different experience, and same thing with hunting. I think that's part of I want to hunt in Wyoming and I want to hunt in Colorado, partly because, you look at the map, you look at the terrain, and you think, man, I want to know what that whole program is like. We sometimes reduce it to, I want to hunt an elk, or I want to kill an elk in Wyoming. I want to kill an elk in Colorado or do that. But it's the terrain. It's just the difference of the operation. When we were skiing through the forest in Colorado, there was this tiny little trail that's like a summer hiking trail that we were going through in our skis. And we're just poking through it, and you're just seeing how different the forest is compared to Alaska, and how it's pretty thick, but there's a lot more space between the trees, so you can kind of weave your way through, and you don't have as much underbrush as you do in Alaska. And then there were moose tracks, just massive moose tracks, and they go down, to your thigh, but for the moose, it's not a big deal. And there was a spot where it had sat down, rested, bedded down, slept, whatever. And you just think, this is different country. I've been in the snow before. I've been on the mountains before. I've been, in the forest before, but I haven't been here, and this is different. And I think there's something really important about that, because sometimes we do get into a routine, and it's easy and it's comfortable, but we have to ultimately be pushed from our comfort zone. If we're not, then I don't know. I think you kind of wake up and think, well, what have I been doing? I think that's the potential, or the potential danger in that you have one thing dialed in and locked in. That's great, but what are the new things that you're doing to push yourself? And when I say you, of course, I'm just talking to myself. These are questions that I ask myself. I'm not lecturing because I don't know anything really, but these are just the questions that I kind of go with. What's the new thing that I'm working on as far as experiences? How am I keeping life from being stale? Not just for the sake of keeping it not stale, but just seeing what's out there is fun. I really enjoy those experiences. And you're more than likely going to be overwhelmed. You're going to be out of your league to a certain degree, because the program's going to be different, the terrain's going to be different. But it's kind of fun, to get pushed from your routine. It's really happy. Can be a really happy experience. I was talking with my buddy Danny, who's co-founder of Caffeine and Kilos. You should go caffeineandkilos.com. There's your non-paid advertisement right there. Caffeineandkilos.com. I do some running for them. They have some really good coffee, so check that out. But I was asking him for book recommendations because I get some good ideas from him. I wouldn't say it's the self-help book type stuff, but because there's a fine line between like self-help and life optimization, if that's a thing. I think it is, whatever you want to call it. But it's kind of the dealing with yourself rather than come up with with like 12 steps. Sometimes people need the steps, but they think the book is going to solve the problems, right? You have the power. If something is wrong, I don't want to say it's your fault, but I kind of want to say it's your fault. The more control you have, or the more you put it on yourself, the better it might be for you to be able to escape it, because you're giving yourself the power. If it's totally outside of your control, then what is a book going to do, right? So a lot of these books say, hey, take ownership of your life, take responsibility for your life. And from that, you derive the power to then change things about your life, which you totally like. And that's the point, right? And so you got to be kind of careful when you say it's your fault, because negative self-talk is a really bad thing. Negative self-talk, if you have a positive image, is different. If I have a positive image of myself, then I can say, dude, you're being a moron. You're an idiot. You suck. That's not going to impact me enough, because ultimately I have this positive self-image, and what I was doing was different than the type of man that I want to be. And so that kind of gets me back on track. So the whole negative self-talk, if you have a negative self-image, you need to work on that first before you can negative self-talk. So I just want to clarify that. So anyway, I was at a Barnes & Noble in just outside of Loveland, Colorado, on our drive down to Denver 2 days ago. And we're looking through books, and I was asking Danny what books, and he asked if it was if I wanted like a personal development type or a novel. And I took a picture. We were in that kind of the self-help, or the motivation, personal development, and there was a self-esteem workbook. And it had sold 800,000 copies, and I thought, there you go. It's like the complete guide to self-esteem.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plans shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
And I sent him a picture, and he said, oh, good, the workbook. And I felt kind of bad mocking it because it sold over 800,000 copies. So it's out of that, it's helped a lot of people. For a lot of people, the workbook didn't work. The workbook just became work, and they didn't finish it. Or people expected there's something to be in the workbook that would solve the problems for them, like the book would. And so if you want to have self-esteem, you don't say, hey, I want to have self-esteem. It's like Michael Scott declaring bankruptcy, right? Just because you declare it doesn't mean you've done anything about it, right? I want to have self-esteem. I want to have courage. You have to take advantage of the opportunities to do that. Man, I sound like some sort of like fake guru guy, like buy my DVD. But anyway, so it's helped people. Some people it hasn't. And Danny responded, need self-esteem, do something hard that you don't want to do. There. Now you feel better about yourself. And I thought it makes sense, right? Do something hard that you don't want to do. In the good context, of course. Do something hard that you don't want to do. Because once you achieve it, if you do achieve it, you think, whoa, look, I can do this. And you feel better about yourself. If you don't, at least if you don't achieve, like, wow, I did this. Like, I tried. I failed, and that's the worst thing that could have happened. The worst case scenario happened. And the worst case thing was that I tried and I failed, and I can now move on. When I was starting out with my freelance writing a long time ago, I sent an article to the local paper, and there was no response. And I felt kind of bad because, I'm right. I have a journalism major. It had been 4 or 5 years since I had really written anything. But you send it into an editor of a small newspaper, and they don't even respond to you. You think, oh, dang. But then, well, that was the worst thing that could have happened. I put myself out there. I sent an article, and they didn't respond. All right, it's done. It's over. If I had not done that, then I would not have known, or I would just be like, what's going to happen if I did, or too scared of the result. And I got the result. I got the negative result. They said no without saying anything. I later sent a different piece to a different editor, and they said, sure, cool, but we can't give you any money. So I was writing a free column, working for free. But at least I was writing, and had I not gone through that first failure of sending the article and being ignored, I would not have then had the courage the next time to think, hey, man, I've been told no before. The guy didn't even email me back. That's fine, whatever. And then from there, I went to magazines, and people said, no, thank you. People didn't respond. You just get used to it, and it's fine. The worst thing that can happen is that you send in an article, you wait a month, and then they say no through email. It's fine. I can handle that. And so that while that wasn't really hard, it's anytime that you're being vulnerable, you're trying to put words to your life. And so I think there's a chance that people can feel that their life or their story isn't interesting enough for other people to read. And that can be kind of a knock on the self-esteem. Because, wow, my life is not interesting enough for anybody to read about. But you go through those failures. You do. It's difficult, and then you learn to do stuff. Trying stuff that's outside of your comfort zone. I think that's really important there, because I think you have to push yourself in order to have like a true happiness. Otherwise, you're just kind of distracted with things that are nothing. In Fahrenheit 451, one of my favorite books. If you haven't read it, I definitely recommend that book. Fahrenheit 451. It's a quick read. Go read, crush it. The protagonist Montag is asked by a girl, "Are you happy?" And he says, "Of course I'm happy," but then he realizes that he's not happy. And there's a metaphor that the mask had been taken off his face, metaphorically speaking, and there's no way that he could retrieve it. And he had been revealed, and it had been revealed to him. He never looked at and analyzed whether or not he really was happy, because the definition of happiness had totally changed in this dystopian context. But when you come to that conclusion that I've just been distracted, and all dystopias have some level of distraction to keep the brain occupied in this nothingness that allows people to be more controlled. And the thing that's sad about, and I teach this in science fiction lit, the thing that's more terrifying about contemporary society than in dystopias is that in a dystopia, you don't really know that you're a squirrel in a cage. That's another 451 quote. But in contemporary society, we have the opportunity, we have the chance to learn and grow and do new things. And we kind of choose not to. We choose instead to be distracted by stuff that's totally inconsequential. We adopt these personas, or we adopt that our purpose in life is to stir up stuff on social media. That our purpose is to be a fan of a team that no one knows us. As far as, I'm not going to say that March Madness is a distraction. I love it. I love watching it. I really do. This year has been different because Arizona's not in it. So they don't have the opportunity of letting me down because they already did, I guess. But then it's still, they don't care. They don't think, hey, Lund, we're going to do this for you. They say fans, and so anytime they say we want to thank the fans, I'm included in that. But really, it's not personal. The boys basketball team here in Ketchikan won the state championship last night in an awesome game, overtime game. One one of my journalism students hit the kind of game clinching 3-pointer with like 30 some seconds left. And so it was just awesome to watch. And so when we meet them at the airport today, there was a little parade going on. Like, I know those kids, right? So I can be happy for them on a different level. Watching that is not a distraction, right? Because I know those kids. When they're at school tomorrow, I'm going to congratulate them. It's going to be awesome. I know those kids. I'm so happy for them because I know what they've gone through. I know the type of kids they are. I know the type of people they are. That is fun. But having the same sort of passion for teams that don't, and again, I'm not. Sports are great, man. I love watching sport. It's great, but there should be something else, something that's a little bit more real and attaches you to ground you in something else, and something that you have a say in. I have zero say in how the Broncos do. I love watching them, and I will watch them. I'll cheer for them, and I'll be frustrated by them. Same thing with the Rockies. That's going to happen. But that can't be the only thing that I get some sort of. That can't be part of a distraction that keeps me like sedated, right? That keeps me controlled. Like, I want to do new things. I want to have new experiences, and that's the nice thing about living in a place that has so much opportunity as far as like the outdoors. I can go outside and I can be really bad at tracking grouse. It's March. It's end of March, so we've got grouse season starting up here. I've only grouse hunted for the last year and a half. It's fun. It's different. And worst thing that happens is that I go out there and I don't get anything, and I get made fun of or whatever. Write a column about it, and the readers say, "Oh, look at that Inept Lund. He went out for 7 days, a couple hours each day. He burned way more calories than that grouse would ever give him." And worst case scenario is that someone thinks I'm an inept person when they read my column. Big deal, man. I'm getting out there, right? And that's fun. And being okay with that and being able to, you push yourself. And then finally, if you do end up getting a grouse, it's like a real thing. I got dinner. I spent way more calories to go get it. But I got it, and you feel good about that. Yeah, and you should feel good about that. It wasn't easy. You went out and you figured it out rather than just cower at the first spot of difficulty. And I think that's important. Need newness, and that's kind of the long way around of talking about experiencing new things. But I think it's just valuable. It's important. It's vital to our existence to do new things, to experience new things in different areas, to not be good at them, to have the threat of failure on different levels, but being able to push through that. And this is not a lecture. I don't think that I've figured out any sort of life secret. This is just kind of what I'm thinking about and what I'm talking about. Because I think most of life is pondering these questions to which there's no answer. There isn't a 12-step program where these 3 steps are things that might work, right? But ultimately, it's about your willingness to do anything about it. And there have been so many times that I've been afraid of the consequence or kind of, this might be a little bit too much for me. A mountain goat hunt, an elk hunt. I'm not really experienced. A bear, I don't know if I'm really experienced. But you got to have the confidence, and you just got to do it. And I've just learned you just got to do it. And there shouldn't. I look at some of the other hunters around in the outdoors, and I think that guy is hardcore. That woman is hardcore. They're crushing it on a level that I could not attain. And that might be true, but that's just because people have trained themselves to not give in to that voice of, well, that's not for me. And, you shouldn't compare yourself to others, but, compare yourself to the type of person that you could be. And I got a late start in hunting, so there's no way I'm going to be I don't even want to say Steve Rinella. Because that would be like I'm trying to be like Steve Rinella or any of those Randy Newberg, those guys who've been hunting all their lives and have these personalities and they're rich and notable and whatever. But having that sort of just knowledge of a lifelong hunting career, I will never have that because I started so late. But I do wonder from here on out, what's the best that I can do, and what are the new things that I can go and experience, so that I don't have that routine life that's just more distraction than it is actual happiness. So I think that'll do it. I think that'll do. I got some laundry to do. Just got back, like I said, but it's a sunny day and it's warm, so I think I'm going to go not find a grouse and then go to the parade to celebrate the K-High boys winning the state championship, first state championship in 45 years, I think 44 years, something like that. So really cool. It'd be great to see those kids, support those kids, and tell them good job. And then also hope that, I mean, if you win the championship, that's one thing, but win or lose, the main thing is more about what you learn from the whole experience. You know, basketball, I've told my kids this a lot, that basketball can, when I was coaching, you know, basketball can make you a real arrogant jerk, right? And you can learn nothing from that. Or it can make you, it can help through those experiences and how you push yourself and the type of person you are as a winner and loser. It can teach you a lot of valuable life skills. And that's really important to have. Put yourself out there, be vulnerable. Again, you can say the right things going into state, you know, and, oh, we're going to win, we're going to do this, we're going to, well, that's what everybody says, right? But are you going to do what it takes in order to make that happen? And so, you know, it's cool to see the guys rise to the occasion there, and some really good kids, so I'm very proud of them. So yeah, we'll call that episode 84. Make sure you go to themediocrealaskan.com, check out the content there, check out Alaska Lund on Instagram, also the Mediocre Alaskan on Instagram. And we'll talk to you next time.